Hey everybody, so Alex Melson here is jumping in on a conversation that we were having concerning corn, using corn for grain. And I was asking somebody else what kind of corn they were using because the kind of corn matters. And Alex is like, what do you mean by that? Well, great question. Let me explain. From what I understand, and this is just in my limited knowledge and experience, there are roughly three main kinds of corn that you can buy to use for grain spawn, okay? There's cracked corn, which is typically sold as chicken feed, and this is corn kernels that have been roughly ground up. They're just sent through a rough grinder and it cracks them into smaller but not very tiny pieces. Like you can't make bread out of it, but it's still a chunky piecemeal kind of corn. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you have feeder corn, or corn that is used as part of a grain feeding program for livestock. These are whole kernel pieces of corn. Okay, and they typically come from feeder corn stock. It's a different kind of corn, like it's grown, it's very different. The third kind is popcorn. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed the difference between the kind of corn that you can buy at the grocery store that you cook yourself and then consume, corn on the cob, right? It looks dramatically different than popcorn. Popcorn is little and it's round and it's absolutely different than the kind of corn that you would normally consume as a person eating corn. So, saying that, I will say this. Of those three kinds of corn, popcorn is the best to use for grain spawn because it hydrates better. Okay, cracked corn tends to overhydrate too easily because the outside shell, that cellulose packaging that the corn comes in, gets broken apart, exposing the inner piece of the corn, which absorbs the water far too quickly, and cracked corn typically turns into mush. Feeder corn is the whole kernel. It's very large, it's very hard, it's very dense, and it is much more difficult to hydrate properly. People who have used feeder corn typically report having issues with contamination that is largely due to underhydration or overhydration. Finding that sweet spot with feeder corn is much more difficult. Popcorn, on the other hand, is super easy to hydrate, and I think that it has a lot to do with its shape. It's a smaller piece that's still self-contained, that doesn't have an extremely hard outer shell because it's meant to be popped. It's meant to be exposed to heat and then turned into the grain exuding itself outwardly. So, that's what I mean by the kind of corn matters. And if you guys have any more information to add to that, or you want to jump in the conversation yourself with your own insights and ideas, as always, we would love to hear those in the comments below. Be polite, be educational, and have a good time. Thanks for hanging out.